The underwater break situation becomes untenable, and a state of emergency is reported, announcing it to the entire city. Just as Yun-hee and Man-sik meet, the earthquakes begin, and all the people on the beach fall from the tremors. Disasters start to happen, with Dong-chun and Yuk-jo crashing their cars, Eugene getting trapped in an elevator and a cargo ship being capsized at sea. On Christmas Day 2004 near Indonesia, a fishing boat is hit by a severe storm. On land, a weather center detects anomalies that indicate the onset of a tsunami, so they rush to the boat's rescue. The helicopter has only 5 minutes to get the crew before they are crushed by the big wave, and although everything seems to go relatively smoothly, Mr. Kang, one of the members, is trapped under some boxes, preventing him from getting out. His friend Man-sik tries to help him with all his might, but his attempts have no effect, so he's rescued and watches his friend succumb to the weight and force of nature. A couple of days later, the tsunami event caused a national impact, with damages in places like India, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka, leaving thousands dead and injured. 5 years later in the summer, Man-sik is trying to pull out a loose tooth of his son Sung-yun on the beach, but then a friend appears and tells him that he must leave with him immediately. On the street, the owner of a seafood store complains to a girl for selling fish in front of her stall, accusing her that her attitude stems from being an orphan. The conflict escalates to blows, but they are promptly separated by Man-sik, who reveals himself to be the lady's son and the head of the Prosperity Association. He overly protects this girl for being Yun-hee, the daughter of his former shipmate, whom he swore to take care of. While he has a high regard for Yun-hee, she assures him that she doesn't need his protection. At that moment, a group of investors appears together with Yuk-jo, a businessman who assures that Haeundae is a tourist site suitable for investment, but just at that moment he is assaulted by one of the citizens, who criticizes him for taking advantage of the town's situation to become richer. Meanwhile, geologist Kim Hui warns a board of investigation about the dangers of a possible new tsunami. Kim Hui's personal life takes a toll on him as he is in the middle of a divorce with his wife Eugene. Outside the meeting, Kim Hui is surprised by Jimin, his daughter with Eugene, but who is unaware of their relationship, and who remains part of the woman's new family. Back on the beach, 3 girls are surprised by 3 boys, who take them on a yacht out to sea. One of them, Hee-mi, doesn't look so impressed, but the others ask her to go with the flow to take advantage of this opportunity. Parallel to this, local bum Dong-chun and Sung-yun plan a scam where he pretends to be blind, while the boy sings pretending to be badly injured. This seems to work, with Jimin taking pity on the situation in the streets. On the yacht, the Hee-mi falls overboard while trying to smoke a cigarette, with everyone else distracted by the music. To her luck, a patrolling lifeguard appears, but in his attempt to rescue her, he knocks her out and jumps into the water to get her. As he does so, Hee-mi becomes desperate and begins to choke him, but he knocks her unconscious and manages to save her. He gives her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but the girl wakes up and bites his lip, so the lifeguard hits her again to knock her out. On the shore, Man-sik greets Yun-hee and hands her a bag full of vegetables. The two talk about Sung-yun's whereabouts, and Man-sik receives a call from the police station, where he discovers that his son was arrested for the attempted scam. Upon arrival, Man-sik starts fighting with Dong-chun while his son cries in despair. At the conclusion of the bitter scene, father and son go to Yun-hee's stall to get something to eat, where Man-sik gets drunk easily, and are visited by Hyung-sik, Man-sik's younger brother, and who turns out to be the lifesaver from before. A family compliments the boy's appearance, who reveals that Yun-hee is not his mother, as the real mother abandoned them. The situations continue unfolding, with Yuk-jo losing shareholders, Kim Hui receiving news of new tsunami activity from Japan, and Man-sik's friends saying that his feelings for Yun-hee are now more than evident. Man-sik's mother shows up to threaten against Yun-hee, but as usual, the man defends her. The 3 yacht boys show up to eat at Yun-hee's stall, and after serving them, she talks to Dong-chun, whom she forces to accompany her on her daily catch. Man-sik shows up before they set sail, inviting the girl to a baseball game with Sung-yun, to which she accepts. A group of lifeguards listens to the game on the radio, and one of them asks Hyung-sik what happened to his lip. When they tell him that the person who did that must have been crazy, Hee-mi appears to talk. She tells him that he should take responsibility for the injuries he caused her, and intervenes in his call to wait for his answer. Late at night, she tells her friends that she will be back late, as she has an increasingly close conversation with Hyung-sik. At the game, Man-sik gets drunk again and starts insulting the batsman, much to the embarrassment of his son and Yun-hee. The police make an appearance and take him out of the stadium before descending into further conflict. Upon returning home, he finds his mother talking to old Yuk-jo, who is actually his uncle. After insulting him before leaving, Man-sik kicks his dog, receiving a scolding from his mother. At the dock, Dong-chun accompanies Yun-hee, who receives a note from Man-sik. Just then, the young men from the yacht arrive and threaten Yun-hee and tell her that she gave poisoned food, making one of them sick. Dong-chun tries to defend her, but the 2 boys outnumber him in strength. That's when Hyung-sik shows up to defend his friend, beating the boys. In bed, Man-sik complains of a stomachache, and while trying to get some medicine, which he mistakes for shampoo, one of his friends tells him about the conflict at the dock. The police show up to arrest Dong-chun and Yun-hee, both for the fight and for selling poisoned food. Watching them drive off in the patrol car, Man-sik starts foaming and is taken to the hospital for a stomach pump. Because of his conflict last night, Hyung-sik is given the job of a coastal nursery attendant, where he attends to a crying lost girl who claims to know her mother's number. The girl turns out to be Jimin, and after contacting her mother, Kim Hui goes to pick her up, feeling awkward about being next to his own daughter. Yuk-jo formally asks Man-sik to move his business, but Man-sik reproaches him that it was his fault that the expedition from years ago went so badly, after forcing them to set sail in adverse conditions. The businessman has no choice but to turn to Dong-chun to convince Man-sik, promising him a store if he succeeds. Eugene shows up to pick up Jimin, scolding her for getting lost. Kim Hui asks her not to be so harsh on the girl, but Eugene reproaches the man's absence as a father. Right after, Himi reproaches Hyung-sik for not telling her about his change of position, as she had been looking for him all day. The two share a meal, where Himi mentions studying for being an actress, giving him an acting sample too realistic for the people around them. Man-sik talks to Yun-hee, and they both mention her father's memorial, remembering the first time they met, when Man-sik saw Yun-hee's father as a leader. However, in a flashback, it is shown how Yun-hee's father was caught in the storm due to an error in judgment on Man-sik's part, which causes the man to self-sabotage his intentions with Yun-hee. As they continue their outing, Himi tricks Hyung-sik into kissing him and biting his lip again, with the girl's friend spying on her from a distance, still resentful from the dock fight. In the morning, Kim Hui warns his boss about the possibility of a mega tsunami, a wave that could reach 50 meters at least, and even reach 100 meters in the worst-case scenario. If so, they should evacuate as many people as possible in just 10 minutes. At Mr. Kang's grave, Yun-hee confesses her feelings for Man-sik, standing by his side, and asks her father to make the man understand the hints she always gives him. Man-sik breaks down in tears, apologizing to the grave of his former friend. He and his brother meet and talk about their women's case, unable to give each other good advice. As he arranges another outing with Himi, Hyung-sik is intercepted by the yacht boys, who beat him up and tell him never to see Himi again. After finishing her dinner, Yun-hee talks to Yuk-jo, who is happy that his project is on track. Apparently, Yun-hee is the only person Yuk-jo has any regard for, perhaps out of respect for his deceased father. As he leaves, Man-sik arrives, who is less than pleased with the old man's presence. He invites Yun-hee to a boat, where he decorates the deck with a romantic theme, and waits for the fireworks to propose to the girl. Despite being amused by the idea, Yun-hee tells a nervous Man-sik that she will think about it, and give him an answer early tomorrow morning. If there is a red ribbon tied to her boat, that means she would accept the proposal. From a distance, everyone watches the fireworks in awe, except for Himi, who scolds Hyung-sik for missing their date. He just turns around and tells her that they should stop seeing each other. Dong-chun feels pressured for not having a formal job, and in the middle of a conversation with Yun-hee, he learns about the marriage proposal, so he decides to reveal to her the real cause of her father's death. The seabed near Tsushima Island begins to crack, creating an underwater fault. The next morning, Man-sik is disappointed to find that not only is there no red ribbon, but Yun-hee's boat has sailed away, leaving him stranded. He encounters Dong-chun, who confesses telling Yun-hee the truth about his father. Man-sik lunges at the snitch, but the battle is suddenly stopped by a seagull that crashes into Dong-chun's car. As they watch the sky, they notice how the birds seem to fly away from the area, for they foreshadow something bad. Kim Hui tries to convince his boss to evacuate the entire region before tragedy strikes, but he says that if they do, they will be a laughingstock. He warns Eugene about the threat, but she believes it is an attempt to sabotage her career. At sea, Yun-hee regrets what happened, and decides to get rid of the red ribbon. She goes to Yuk-jo and tells him that she will be leaving Haeundae next week, leaving the old man confused and sad. The underwater break situation becomes untenable, and a state of emergency is reported, announcing it to the entire city. Just as Yun-hee and Man-sik meet, the earthquakes begin, and all the people on the beach fall from the tremors. Disasters start to happen, with Dong-chun and Yuk-jo crashing their cars, Eugene getting trapped in an elevator and a cargo ship being capsized at sea. Also, Himi is with her suitor on the yacht, getting caught in the middle of a massive storm. Kim Hui tells his boss that they must get everyone in the highest possible spaces, and leaves to find his wife and daughter, with the latter watching from her window as the giant wave approaches them. The beach gradually runs out of water, with people running for shelter and causing havoc in the city. Man-sik and Yun-hee flee too, with a wave forming behind them, of a size that can cover almost the entire region. Dong-chun meets Sung-yun and his grandmother in the middle of a bridge. He tries to help them, but the lady goes into a catatonic state, and no matter how hard they try to run, they cannot outrun the wave behind. The tsunami covers the coasts, the streets, and destroys the buildings, reaching the highest floors, with no place to take refuge. Everyone runs as fast as they can, but the end is inevitable, and in less than 10 minutes, all of Haeundae is engulfed in a blanket of water, leaving only the tallest building standing. Dong-chun walks on the bridge, seeing the debris beside him and looking for Sung-yun, but then realizes that right next to him is the cargo ship, now hanging vertically on the bridge, about to fall. He manages to dodge all the cargo that is bearing down on him, but many people are not as lucky in the city. Man-sik and Yun-hee try to quickly climb a light pole before a piece of electrical equipment falls near them. In the distance, old Yuk-jo also manages to save himself from falling into the water. Meanwhile, Kim Hui goes to look for Jimin in her apartment, which is completely flooded. He manages to catch her just before she falls into the void, being on the second to last floor of the building. Hyung-sik goes in the helicopter to rescue the distress calls on the high seas, and comes across Imi and her suitor, who makes their rescue more difficult by panicking. Seeing that he is a burden, she decides to knock the guy out in the same way Hyung-sik did when they first met. She manages to be rescued, but Hyung-sik tells her that he must stay to rescue the unconscious man. Eugene, still in the elevator, manages to communicate with Kim Hui and her daughter on the roof, telling them about her situation. Eugene confesses to Jimin that the man next to her is her real father, cutting off the call as she loses strength and gets underwater. Father and daughter fear the worst, unaware that downstairs, the building's janitor manages to open the elevator door, rescuing Eugene in the process. On the bridge, Dong-chun manages to save a cigarette, but after a careless attempt to light it, he accidentally throws his lighter into a fuel leak on the ship, setting off a chain reaction that causes everything to explode, with tons of debris falling into the city and adding to the danger. While being rescued, Himi's suitor becomes desperate and falls back into the water, with Hyung-sik coming to his rescue despite Himi's warnings in the helicopter. The situation is quite tense with Man-sik and Yun-hee, as the former manages to climb up, but falls into the water, and although his beloved holds his hand, he can't help but slip, confessing his love as a last gesture before leaving. Yun-hee watches in horror as Man-sik is swept away by the current, but just then Yuk-jo appears, grabbing Man-sik with an injured arm to avoid his path. He manages to rescue him, and as he gives a smile to his nephew and Yun-hee, he is rammed by a giant sign, carried away by the current. During the helicopter rescue, the rope holding Hyung-sik and Imi's suitor breaks a little because it can't support so much weight, so Hyung-sik makes a strong decision. He decides to sacrifice himself, asking his rival to give Imi his watch, which she always liked. Despite the cries and pleas, the lifeguard ends up making the ultimate sacrifice, smiling from the surface at his beloved, only to be swept away by a wave. At the top of a building, Eugene is reunited with Jimin and Kim Hui, but they see another wave approaching in the distance, so they tell the rescue team that they are with a little girl, so they must give priority to save her. They manage to get a lady to hold her, but the parents can only watch their daughter soar through the air, saying goodbye forever. The pair share one last hug, with Kim Hui apologizing for everything. The rescuers go back over the building's roofs, and Dong-chun along with Mansky's mother, watches Sung-yun struggles to swim, trying to save him. Some time later, a service is held to honor the rescuers who gave their lives for the city, including Hyung-sik. Among those present are Man-sik, his mother and son, Yun-hee, Himi and her friends who were able to survive, with her keeping Hyung-sik's special watch. Murals are made to honor the fallen, including Yuk-jo, Kim Hui and Eugene, and on the beach, Jimin and Sung-yun talk about what happened, with her asking him if they had met before, not remembering the scam from the beginning. The boy tells her no and they part ways. As they clean up, Man-sik's friends comment on how old Yuk-jo canceled his contract on behalf of the merchants in the area, about how Dong-chun's mom perished while buying a pair of shoes for him, and that Dong-chun received an award for saving several people during the disaster. Dong-chun mourns the loss of his mother holding a picture of her. Man-sik and his family go to his aunt's house, where his mother gives them life advice and hugs Yun-hee, forgiving her for everything. At the dock, Yun-hee sees the debris of her tent, and finds the red ribbon from earlier. Man-sik intercepts her and steals the ribbon, but it slips away and flies with the wind to the sky.